Hi, this is Lakshmi Chaudhry, founder and editor of Splainer.in, and the host of What the Happened Here. This is the Tuesday edition of our news magazine show. Today we look at India's big win at Cannes, which has, as usual, become an excuse for a political jhagda. Then we have playful killer whales that are sinking ships, monkeys falling to their deaths in Mexico, and the French origin of the Desi beauty brand Lakmé. As we told you before, this is a big year for India at Cannes. Our first shot at a big win after a long time. Well, we did it. And how? Payal Kapadia's film, All We Imagine as Light, scored the second highest prize at the festival, the Grand Prix. Anasuya Sengupta won Best Actress for her turn in The Shameless, and Sunflowers were the first ones to know took the highest prize in the Shorts category. But the biggest winners this year, irrespective of nationality, were women. The biggest movies were about women and often led by women. And that may be because even the jury was dominated by women and chaired by none other than Barbie director Greta Gerwig. Let's start with All We Imagine as Light. There was every indication that Kapadia would win big this year. The film received an 8-minute standing ovation at its screening, and the reviews were every bit as rapturous. The Guardian gave it 5 stars, describing it as glorious and comparing it to Satyajit Ray Mahanagar. There's plenty of yarn about Kapadia's film in the free link to our edition below, so we are going to stick to the more colorful facts. For instance, did you know that one of the lead actresses, Kani Kusruti, sported a watermelon clutch at the red carpet? It showed her solidarity with Palestinians. Why watermelon? Because when you slice the fruit open, it reveals the colors of the Palestine flag, which is banned by Israel. You should also know, if you're planning to catch All We Imagine as Light in the theaters, that it may never get a wide release. One of the plot lines involves a young Malayali nurse and her Muslim boyfriend and their efforts to consummate their relationship. The Hollywood Reporter calls the scene shockingly sensual, exactly the kind of stuff that riles up Hindutva groups. Speaking of political slugfests, social media has been buzzing with Kapadia's past battles with the Film and Television Institute of India. The FTII had once revoked her scholarship, so it was a bit hypocritical for them to celebrate her win, or so said the critics. But the backstory is a bit more complicated. In 2015, Kapadia led student protests against the appointment of Gajendra Chauhan as the institute's chairman. The reason? Chauhan was a BJP man best known for playing Yudhishthir in the Mahabharat serial, so not exactly qualified for the job. Kapadia led a boycott of classes and was one of the students who held then FTII director Prashant Patrave hostage in his office. At the time, FTII cancelled her scholarship and she was named in an FIR for the Patrave incident. But FTII seems to have forgiven her by 2017. That's when Kapadia's 13-minute film, Afternoon Clouds, became the only Indian entry chosen for the Cannes short film category. FTII issued a letter of support and paid for her travel expenses to France that year. At the time, Kapadia said, "I'm very grateful that I could study at FTII because I had this opportunity to make this film, which would otherwise not have been easy to fund." Kapadia's next trip to Cannes was in 2021 for her documentary, A Night of Knowing Nothing. It won the Golden Eye Award for the Best Documentary. The ironic bit, it was all about student protests across the country, including those at FTII. From what we can make out, there are no hard feelings on either side, as Kapadia made clear in her pressers. Kapadia may be getting all the attention, but Chidananda Nayak also had an excellent year. His 16-minute film, Sunflowers Were the First Ones to Know, won in the short film category. By the way, he's an FTII student too, so they're clearly doing something right. The flick is based on Kannada folklore and is about an elderly woman who steals a rooster and robs a village of sunlight. Sounds intriguing. Last not least, we have Anasuya Sengupta, who won Best Actress prize in Un Certain Riga category, reserved for indie films. She plays the lead role of a sex worker in The Shameless. Although inspired by William Dalrymple's 2009 book titled Nine Lives, the story is entirely fictional. It's about a woman who escapes from a Delhi brothel after killing a policeman. She finds refuge in a community of sex workers in a small town, but falls in love with a young girl trapped into prostitution. It took 14 years for the Bulgarian American filmmaker Konstantin Bozhanov to make this movie. He happened to be a Facebook friend of Sengupta who had moved to Goa having given up on acting. Bozhanov asked her to audition for the role over DM, and the rest is history. Of course, everyone is now talking about Oscar hopes, especially for Kapadia. It'll be interesting to see if the government nominates her movie as the India entry, given the controversial plotline. We can only hope. We always love stories about animals. We've got one happy and one sad one today. Let's start with good news about killer whales. Since 2020, pods of orcas have been ganging up to sink boats off the Mediterranean coast, close to Spain, Portugal, France, and Morocco. Worse, they were teaching each other how to do it, and they've managed to sink at least 673 vessels so far, though mercifully no one has died. No one knew why the they were attacking boats. There were viral theories about angry animals taking revenge on humans, or stressed whales acting out in distress. Well, none of it is true. According to experts tasked with studying their behavior, the whales are just playing. That's it. Most of the orcas are high spirited teenagers having a good time. They think it's fun to bump the ship's rudders with their noses or heads. But since they're kind of large, the whales end up damaging the ship's steering. The real problem? There are loads of kana, as in bluefin tuna, which have staged a recovery. So they have plenty of playtime to spare. Okay, now for the heartbreaking news. At least 138 brown howler monkeys have died due to heat waves in Mexico. Temperatures have exceeded 43 degrees centigrade in places like Tabasco, where the normal temperature is 27 degrees. Wildlife biologists say they're falling out of trees like apples. The monkeys are already in a state of severe dehydration, so they tend to fall off the trees, plunging dozens of meters to their deaths. Authorities are also looking at environmental factors that may be at play, like malnutrition or pesticides. Of course, this is a tragedy in itself, since howler monkeys are a vulnerable species, which means they are close to being endangered. But they're also a sentinel species, which reflects the health of the ecosystem. Dead monkeys is the equivalent of a red alert. As always, we leave you with a cool, weird, interesting fact to remind you that we live in a cool, weird, interesting world. This one is about Lakme, our iconic made in India beauty brand. Let's start with how it was born. Soon after independence, Panditji became concerned about all the foreign exchange we were losing because women were buying foreign beauty brands. So he called up his buddy, JRD Tata, and asked him to create a Swadeshi brand. JRD found two French partners, Robert Piget and Renoir, and they were off to the races. But what to call it? The French suggested Lakmè, the name of a wildly successful opera playing in Paris. And that's the truly intriguing bit. Lakmè, which is the French iteration of Lakshmi, was written in 1883 by composer Léo Delibes, who had never stepped out of Europe. All he knew were writings of scholars like Theodore Pavy, who also penned short stories based on his India travels. As you can expect, it was a classic Orientalist narrative. Traditional Indian father, a Brahmin priest named Neelkantha, is furious at the British officer who falls in love with his gorgeous daughter, Lakme. He tries to kill the chappie, named Gerald if you care, but the couple run away to the forest. Lakme manages to save her lover, but Gerald is more devoted to the colonial cause of ruling brown people than loving them. He returns to the loving arms of the military instead, and poor dumped Lakme dies by swallowing a poisonous flower. So, quite an odd choice for a Swadeshi brand name declaring India's bid for self sufficiency. Both Lakmes have endured well over the decades. The company is now worth over 1200 crore rupees and is the largest beauty brand in India, despite all the competition. The opera is still performed to this day around the world and even has a Bollywood version. That's all for now. Tune in for the next edition on Friday and catch up on the most important, interesting, and just plain weird stories out there. And if you miss us in the meanwhile, grab a free 1 month subscription to Splainer. We'll totally change the way you get your news. We promise. The link is in the description. I'll see you Friday.